Greetings, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to episode 14 of Teaching Tales. I am Brent Coley, your host, and with me today, I'm excited. I've got two of my rock star teachers, Donnie Walton and Kelly Ruiz. Donnie, Kelly, thank you.
Absolutely.
Excited.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and before we get jumping in, if you've read the show notes, you know what we're going to talk about. But Donnie, just a little background. You're one of our awesome fifth grade teachers.
Yeah, so I'm a fifth grade teacher. I'm pretty much, I guess what you call a teaching baby. I've only been doing this for 5 years. And I taught fourth grade for 3 years, and now I'm on my second year of fifth grade. And it's my second year here at Alta.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Kelly?
I have been at this a little while. This is my 12th year teaching fourth grade. I taught a 4-5 combo, but this is my very first year here at Alta, and I'm super excited.
We are super excited to have you, and you, Donnie, in
Thanks,
here too. And for anyone listening, if you, again, like I said, if you saw it on the website or in iTunes, homework. Reflecting on homework. And guys, we're having this conversation because just a couple of days ago at our last staff meeting, we had an amazing conversation about homework. But I want to back up. The whole title of this podcast is Teaching Tales. It's about stories. So if you're listening, just a little background of our story as a site. This year we have gone on a journey, so to speak, a reflective journey about homework. For a couple of years I have been studying and researching and reading books like Alfie Kohn's The Homework Myth. If anyone listening, if you're interested, good book. Basically what he does, and to summarize it, so if you don't want to read it, I'll just give you the Cliff Notes version. There is no, because we're at the elementary level, there is no research out there supporting the practice of homework as it relates to academic achievement. Mm-hmm. There's not research out there that says that homework equals learning. It's just not there. Mm-hmm. So this year, and there are a lot of other articles, so this year toward the beginning of the year, we talked about that as a staff. I basically brought it to the staff and said, hey guys, I've been reading about homework, and I'm not standing before you, and you guys will attest. How many times did I say, I'm not saying stop giving homework?
Every time, multiple times.
Very clearly.
Very clearly. It's not stop giving homework. But basically the driving question that we've asked all of us to consider is, why are we doing what we're doing? And so as far as homework, why are we giving the homework that we're giving? Is it because I've always done it that way? Or is it because I have a specific learning objective for this? So our overall driving question, why are we doing what we're doing? But the two secondary reflective questions were what is the learning objective for this assignment? So if I'm giving a math assignment or a writing assignment, what is my learning objective? Is it because it's addressing standard X, Y, or Z, or is it because, well, I've been giving that assignment for 7 years or for 5 years, so I guess it's just what I'm supposed to do?
Sure.
Because if the answer to the question is because I've always done it, as we've talked as a staff, that's not the right answer. That's not good enough. And the second question is, what am I doing with the assignment? What am I doing with it once it's given? Because I know when we initially talked, do you remember the example I used of withdrawal? I don't know if
I don't remember that one.
Oh, there we go. The word withdrawal, I used to spell incorrect.
Yes, I do remember this one.
I remember that.
Yes.
W-I-T-H.
Uh-huh.
I used to spell it, so anyone listening, how do you spell withdrawal? W-I-T-H-D-R-A-W-A-L. That's how you spell withdrawal. Until about 5 years ago, I spelled withdrawal W-I-T-H-D-R-A-W-L.
Yep.
I remember that story.
Yes, and I remember about 5 years ago typing something in Word and it was underlined in red.
Yep.
Why is that underlined in red?
Yep.
And it was like, are you kidding me? I've been spelling it wrong. The reason I've been spelling it wrong for all those years, I had practiced every time I wrote it in a checkbook. I was spelling it the wrong way.
Yep.
So practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And going back to homework, the withdrawal example is if students are given an assignment, even if it is purposeful, if they're then turning it in and they're not given any feedback on it, it could turn into, if they're spelling withdrawal incorrectly,
Sure.
over and over and over and over, and we're not telling them, we're doing them a disservice. It
Right.
would be better that they didn't even do the assignment. So you guys, when we had our conversation on Monday, Kelly, you raised your hand and shared, because I asked, so guys, again, this is not a throw the baby out with the bathwater. This is, we just need to be thinking about homework and why are we doing what we're doing. Kelly, you have, both of you have been reflecting all year, but you shared kind of your story of how you've done some modification.
Well,
Just-
it's been a journey in itself. Like, I came very traditional, do homework, this is what they do, spelling, math, comprehension, that's what you do. And then for about 5 years ago, I decided, I learned about the reading. Homework isn't purposeful, and I actually threw it out. And then I realized, hold on, wait a minute, I kind of didn't do it in a purposeful way. And I realized that the kids weren't prepared for just that. So I actually went back in and went back to some math homework and just reading reflection homework. But when you had this conversation at the beginning of the school year, I thought, okay, I'm going to take a different direction with this. And we did start out very traditional where there was some math homework, but it wasn't assigned unless it was something we learned in class, and I knew that confidently they could do it on their own at home. But it was about 3 months ago at the semester, I finally decided the kids were ready. They understood where we were headed, and I just did away with what was happening every week as far as homework and traditionally math, because my thought
Sure.
was, as a fourth grade teacher, math is so heavy, how could I not send it home? That was
They have to be practicing.
they have to be practicing. There's too much to learn. This is crazy. Fourth grade can't do that. And I eventually did it, and I sent an email home to parents. I let them know, and I had a few parents who did email me back. I said, if you want homework, if you need practice for your child, let me know. And I actually got a very friendly phone call. She said, I would like some practice. And then about a week later, I had a concern from a grandparent of a student who was struggling a lot. And she wanted some resources. So it got me thinking, and I went ahead and loaded lots of resources on my webpage. So I loaded Khan Academy and electronic resources. I also loaded workbook pages and practice sheets, the reteaching ones that give help to the parents and review for the students on how we practiced it in class. And I loaded all that up on the webpage, and I went over it with the kids, and we went over it in the computer lab, and I showed them where the resources were. We used them in class, and then I told the parents that that's where it was. So that way they could say, to their child, what are you learning? And their child can show them how to find the resource. And we would talk about it in class. Like, if you didn't do well on this lesson today, raise your hand. And they would raise their hand. I said, well, then
Here's where you could go to
this is what
fix it.
you guys should be going home
Yeah.
tonight and practicing this, and
Yeah.
this.
And those parents that call you too are the parents that sit down with the kid and are
Yes.
probably doing it with them.
And that's what makes the difference.
It's a big difference.
It's that engagement with the parents.
It is. It's still teaching at that point. They're not just doing homework.
Right.
If they have that parent or that grandparent calling, then that means that grandparent or parent is probably sitting with them teaching them, which is a huge difference.
That's where you're seeing the growth.
And not everybody.
Right. And so
Not all of our students have that.
They
They
don't.
don't.
And that's why it's been so up and down for me. And when I did this the first time, I actually did not feel comfortable or confident that what I was doing was the right way. And I feel so much different now than I did then.
Right.
Because I started with my kids, knowing where my kids were, and knowing that they knew where to go for the resources.
And it was when you were talking at our staff meeting, and again now, differentiation.
Yes.
That's what
Right.
you're doing, rather than giving 32 students the same worksheet. You said, and I know you said, hey, if you needed help here, here's a resource that you can work on. If you needed help here, here's a different resource that you could work on. Is that?
Yes, yeah, exactly. And it's fun because when I come across more resources, then I just add it to the webpage. And then I get excited. Hey kids, I got to show you this new thing that I added. And then we'll log in and I'll show them. And it's developing. Since I'm new here, I have to bring everything that I used to have and load
So
it
has
in.
it been more? So has it been more probably in the category of optional?
Yes.
So it's more
Yes.
like the optional homework. I know, and
Yes.
for anyone listening, Scott Bedley, we've got episode, I don't remember, you can look, but we did an episode with Scott Bedley. again, I don't even remember what episode. Check the
I wanna say,
website.
like, 9.
I think, yeah, it was 9 or 10. 9, I think. But we had, as a staff, we Skyped with him because he does a lot of optional homework. So if anyone listening, if you go to scottbedley.com, you can find information with him because, again, like Scott, and like we've said, he didn't just throw everything out. He tried to make it, going back to that P word, purposeful.
Right.
What am I giving? Why am I giving it?
Well, when we Skyped with him, that was what gave me that motivation to take the leap.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I've done this before. I went back. Now I feel way more
Yeah.
informed. And it's...
Because the question I remember personally asking Scott when he was telling us, this is what I've done. I asked him, I'm going to ask you, Scott, the question that everybody, and as the principal, because there's test scores, how has your academic, when you've done this, what's happened to the achievement? Have scores gone up? And he said, they've done just as well, if not higher, not to mention, Donnie, kind of what we were talking about before we started recording, kids like it.
Yeah.
They're more fun. They're out playing more.
Yep.
Global School Play Day. Who Scott is also.
It changes their whole attitude, their whole outlook about school from the minute they wake up.
Yeah.
It changes everything.
Yeah.
And I know our goal in life isn't to make a kid happy,
Right.
but as far as the order of operations goes, number one might be up there as make sure they like school, because everything that comes after that is going to be much harder if you don't get that knocked out of the way first.
Well, it's fostering that. I remember a vice principal told me years ago that intrinsic motivation.
Yeah.
You have some kids who have it. Those are the ones who are excited. They ask about homework.
Yep.
They've bid on every single resource you've offered,
Yep.
right? But it's the other kids.
Yeah.
So if you
those
can get
kids,
them happy.
Yeah. Those kids are going to do the homework no matter how much homework you give, because that's what they've always done. And the kids that don't do the homework are going to continue not doing the homework and develop more and more of a negative attitude about it.
Right.
Especially when it's consequence based.
And we had one of our colleagues shared a story at our meeting of her son, who she said last year he hated school because the amount of homework that was given was it was immense, and she said he didn't want to go to school. He hated it. This year, completely different story. She said new administrations come on board. They've had similar conversations. Reflective homework, what's the purpose? Homework level's gone way down. His interest in school, love of learning, has gone through the roof.
Yeah.
She said he loves school again, and I don't think we can undervalue the love of learning.
I agree.
It's not something that, well, let's do a research study on that. It's hard to quantify passion for learning, love of learning, enjoyment of school, but you see it in the eyes of your kids.
Right.
I see it on the playground, and when I visit classrooms, you can tell kids who want to be here and kids who don't. Donnie, your journey, your story, share kind of what your story has been regarding this process.
I think I was kind of at the tail end of, I got my credential in 2010, and I think that was kind of like where we started this transition of, are we doing the right thing? And I think for 50 years it was, this is standard protocol, that's what we're going to keep doing. And finally I think people started reflecting. And when I first started, I had one master teacher who was like, it's homework, it's every day, this is what we do, this is what we've done, that's how it's going to be. And I was like, okay, I'm on board. And then as I started to teach, it became more about, I just felt like I was constantly giving them points, or when they turn in the work, do you have points for this, do you have points for this? No, you didn't turn that in, so you're not getting your points. And I started to realize that it really wasn't doing anything except the thing that was changing most was my grade book. It's like, this is going to change the grade book constantly over and over again. And I think what we found, and my whole 5th grade team does this, for the most part, we're on the same page, is really homework for me has to be a continuation of what was happening in the class, if at all. The homework that goes home with me, they've started, they've worked on it, and most of them have probably finished it. That way when they go home, it's not a matter of, I have no idea what this is, and now I have to learn from this piece of paper.
Because how many times? Because the parents may not be there,
Yeah.
like we said earlier,
to
teach them how to do it.
Yes,
Well,
and
the
I
ones that are
operate.
struggling usually are the ones who don't don't have that resource.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I operate under the assumption that they go home alone.
And the parents,
Because
even
that's
if
the only fair way to do it.
And if
Right.
the parents were there,
Yeah.
it's
this
not
is fifth grade.
It's not
Right.
their job.
It's not their job.
It's not their job.
And-
That's our job.
And it's
to
not
teach
the
them.
piece of paper's job either.
Yeah.
And if you send a kid home saying, okay, they kind of don't have it yet, but once they do this paper, they're going to have it. I don't see it like that. I see it as this is a continuation of what we just learned, and now you might have to practice it a couple times at home, but for the most part, you're done in class. And if you didn't finish it in class, hey, now you have a little bit of extra motivation to do what you should be doing in class in the first place, which is get it done. And the other half of that is, just like you, I try to provide as many resources as I can. I mean, Doceri's been great. We do Doceri videos constantly. And even in the Doceri video, I reference whatever we're working on that day. And I say things like, hey guys, if you're home and you didn't happen to finish this, and you're let's look at number 12 together, just in case it's a kid that moves a little bit slower and they go home and they have to finish it. And they watch the video and we do it together. It's almost like I'm still doing my job even though I'm not there. But again, for me, it's just a continuation of what we were doing and no more. I never count on a paper to teach the concept.
No, and if I can real quickly, if anyone's listening, thinking, "What is Doceri?" What Donnie does, and one of our other fifth grade teachers and multiple teachers is Doceri is an app on the computer and the iPad, and basically they're annotating and doing math problems and talking it through the process, and then they put that up on the website so that the kids, if they get stuck, or like you said, mom and dad who haven't done this.
It's a brand new kind of math.
It is. It's hard because one, it's fifth grade, and a lot of them forget, and two, it's Common Core, which is this is not how I learned it.
And that's out of the comfort level for so many parents. So
And
I've been wanting to do your videos. That's my next step.
I'm always nervous about the
resource.
videos, right? Because I'm like, I tell other teachers, hey, it's on there, but you don't watch it. Just let the kids watch it. You know, because these aren't perfect videos.
Right.
These are videos that we make in class with the kids. You know, the door opens, kids sneeze, you tell a kid, hey, sit back down, or things happen. I write sloppy because I'm learning so fast in Doceri, and I just think, oh man, don't look at this. It's so embarrassing. But really, I do tell parents, hey, this video's on there if you want to help your child. And it's huge to them because we did it in class together, and they go home and they're like, oh yeah, I remember how to do this. And that's, again, if they even didn't finish their work.
Yeah.
And I think lots of times what I'll do too, it's a good gauge, is I'll have a conversation with the kids after a lesson and I'll tell them, how many of you get this, you're fine. How many of you get this, but you need a little bit more practice?
Exactly.
How many of you don't get this? And when I look at that, I'm like, okay, I know my small group for tomorrow. And I said, for those of you who need a little bit more practice, this is when you can take it home.
Right.
Practice a few, and then let's talk about it tomorrow. Or the only time it might come home is if I want to flip it. I want you to try it. I want you to look at it. And then tomorrow, let's see what your questions were, because I want to spend more time on the discovery.
Which is even harder.
But that's so far and few between.
Yeah, it's even harder to do that because they're like, but I don't get it. It's like, just try it. And,
I said, and what were your questions? Or spend 10 minutes. Or
write them down.
If I really want to play with something because I have a different activity. But
well, in those videos, as you said that, I just pulled, because I used to do the same before there were iPads, but I pulled it up. I used to make similar videos, but in terms of when you said, well, don't watch this, it's just for the kids. For anybody listening, and Kelly, I mean, and we'll help you get started if you need, but the impact and the reach that you can have outside of your classroom is, I mean, I'm looking here, I did a video on least common multiple and comparing fractions. It's got 3,300 views.
wow.
Now that's not, I mean,
you're not getting paid,
I'm
but
not
that's
going to be a YouTube. I'm not going to quit
Yeah.
my job because I'm a YouTube star now.
But it's that many resources.
But it's like, wow, and I've gotten comments from homeschooled kids who are like, thanks so much, this helped me. If you put it out there, you don't know who.
Right.
It's not just your 32 kids that are seeing that.
Sure.
So, but you mentioned grades. And we talked about that too, and as you were saying that, I jotted down a note because I wanted to make sure and share this story, is there is so much, as kids get older, the emphasis on grades as opposed to learning.
Right.
And I have had my daughter, who is in high school, and she's a very good student. She's very compliant, does what, like you said, Donnie, earlier. There's some kids who are going to do what they're supposed they're going to do what they're supposed to do because they're told to do it.
Right.
And my daughter loves learning, but she's also very compliant. She's
Right.
going to do, teacher told me to do it, I'm going to do it.
Sure.
But I told our staff is next to the texting app, her favorite app on her, remember what her
Oh,
favorite
yeah,
app
it's
is?
Aries.
It's Aries, which is the grade book that our district uses.
Right.
She's constantly checking, what's my grade?
Yep.
What's my grade? And she has some amazing teachers. But like you said earlier about homework, this is kind of the way it's been done. One of the whole purposes of recording this podcast was, guys, you need to come on and record with me because more people need to be having these conversations. Because when I say, baby, how was your day at school today? More often than not, it was good. I got a blank. I got a 95 on my math test. Oh, it was good. I found out that I got a blank.
Mm-hmm.
And so often it's great.
Yeah.
And I've asked her, did you learn anything?
What'd you learn?
Did you learn? Of course I learned something, Dad. But that we need to shift away from what you mentioned earlier. It's affecting my grade book.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be. That should be. Yes, there's things that we.
No, I'm not discounting
But
Yeah,
that
we want to document responsibility,
but that shouldn't be our focus.
Right.
And
Right.
when we talked the other day, and I know before we started recording, you were hesitant because, and we talked about this, and most of our teachers are like, we asked ourselves the questions: are we doing our students a disservice? Because by not necessarily doing away with homework, but reducing the level of non-purposeful homework. Are we setting our kids up? I think, Kelly, you'd asked. It's like this was, you said, I was hesitant
me too.
because, Donnie, because when they get to middle school,
Right.
and Donnie, you shared, are you
Yeah.
if you're not comfortable.
No, I constantly ask myself, am I doing the wrong thing? Because we hear kids be prepared in middle school with 30 to 40 minutes of homework per teacher. Be prepared. And I sit back and I think, am I not preparing them? Am I doing the wrong thing because I'm not giving them at least, that should be 40 minutes from me. Am I not doing the right thing? But then I talk to parents that say, you know what though, they went into middle school with a good attitude, ready to go, and they were ready to handle it because they had a positive approach to school. I mean, one of our students that I see almost weekly here because he still hangs around is he went from I don't want to be here to I'm happy to be here and now I can attack it. But I still do ask myself, am I preparing them enough? Am I preparing them enough for next year when they're getting this?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking in the beginning of the year when you brought it up. I thought, I've been tackling this for so many years. Mm-hmm. Am I doing them a disservice? Because not only am I teaching them, I'm teaching them life skills.
Yep.
So I'm teaching them not only to be educated, but to be responsible and organized.
Yeah.
And to be ready for the load coming up.
Right.
And I've always told parents, we're scaffolding it, we're supporting them, but that's always been my thought. So it was the scariest thing is thinking, I'm going to do this, but am I really hurting them in the long run? Because they're going to go and then they're going to have homework in every class for a very long time.
And the question that was brought up in the meeting that many raised their hand and said, like, are the middle schools having this conversation?
Yeah, because I don't think they're happy with what we send to them because they are not groomed for that workload. And so that also makes me reflect, oh boy, am I, I'm only 5 years in, so I'm still thinking, okay, I question myself all the time.
Yeah, like am I teaching them enough discipline?
Yeah.
And I look at my kids, I have gone back and forth. I look at my kids who are already motivated and they're fine with homework. They're happy, they're smiling.
Yeah.
I know they're going to be okay. So I thought, well, if I can create that motivation in my other kids, if I can do that, then no, I'm not doing them a disservice, is some of the thought that I've been having. But I would love to know how it's going to feed in.
But you said to me, I don't know if I'm going to have them ready for your class. Because I know you guys have more work than we do in fourth grade, but I look at it as, well, it's my job to have them ready for my class.
Right.
Is the way I see it. Yes, you're scaffolding them. Yes, you're building them up. But you're building them up to be a great end of the year fourth grader.
Right.
And when I inherit them as beginning of the year fifth graders, I scaffold on top
And then
of that.
take that a little bit
so
further.
then when I'm feeling doubtful about it, when I'm feeling like, am I doing the right thing, then I kind of try to tell myself that is, it's my responsibility to get them ready to be an end of the year fifth grader.
Or maybe
And-
what they're capable of doing
and
at that
yeah.
age.
Well, and
No, I know where you're going to go with this. I think I know where you're going to go with it. Is I worry that they're doing this next year, so should I be doing it this year because that's what is on deck.
yes, in our meeting when we talked, it's like, because that's the age-old argument. Well, you hear elementary school teachers say, "Well, I have to do this. I have to give them a bunch of what could be non-purposeful work because that's what they're going to get in middle school." And middle school teachers saying, "Well, I have to give them a whole bunch of stuff because that's what they're going to get in high school." Or college teachers or high school teachers saying, "Well, they're going to get a lot of lecture in college."
So they have to figure
So
out.
so they're going to have to get used to it. I mean, become immune to it, stomach. Which
Right.
what we're really saying is, so because they're going to be subjected to poor instructional strategies or non-purposeful work in the future, we should
Hate them now.
we should get them used to it, make them get used to the bad taste of something that isn't. And when we were talking, it's like kind of like I was biting my because.
Yeah.
But you're right, because I think I have been guilty of giving when I was in the classroom. Did I give homework assignments that weren't purposeful? Sure, I did.
Yeah, me too.
And I think if we're honest, every single one of us has done it, and I was guilty. It's
Probably
like
done it this year.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I did a lot because nobody ever asked me this. Nobody ever asked me to reflect on this question. But I think, and for anyone listening, that's the whole purpose. I mean, after our meeting, I laid in bed that night thinking, we have got to record. We have got to tell this story with more people.
Just the process.
Just because
that's what it is. We haven't figured it out.
Oh
No,
my
and
gosh!
it's not, and it's still a process. I
It's
still feel like
And it's
there's so many different ways to make it better.
This isn't going to be done this year.
Right.
This isn't going to be done next year.
Right.
This is
it's been a process for me for like 5 years.
and
I mean, I've been-
5, 10, 15 more.
Yeah.
What's our theme? It's on my shirt right here. We're pursuing excellence. That's our school's theme. We haven't arrived, so anyone listening, don't call or email saying, "What's the magic?
Yeah.
What's the magic solution?" Because we don't have it.
Right now, our solution is just thinking about
our
it.
solution
Reflection.
is we've asked ourselves the question: why are we doing what we're doing? And if you're an elementary school teacher, at any grade level, in homework or in your class, why are you doing what you're doing? And if the answer is because I've always done it this way, not okay. And if you're at a middle school level, if you're giving homeworks or ask yourself, why am I giving what I'm giving? And if you're doing it simply because, well, I have to get them ready for this, because Kelly, you can build responsibility. You were saying it. You're building responsibility. Just saying, here's 3 homework assignments. You better bring it in tomorrow completed. And if you do that, now you're responsible. Yes, that is one way of building responsibility. But again, if they're doing a worksheet that they didn't need, and then maybe they're not getting feedback on it,
Right.
I would rather they didn't do it, because if you're giving them, hey guys, here's my website, check out, there's 20 things that you could be doing, and if you say, hey, student A, Billy, if you need work here, you're teaching them to be responsible in terms of taking control of their own learning, set their own goals, and
that's what I think that's what I've been playing with this year.
And that's my goal too.
Helping them to figure out what it is they need to learn,
Right.
and finding a resource. And for some kids, they've caught on to it easy, and for others, that's where I'm still learning.
Yeah.
How could I help them pick those resources? That's definitely been my focus.
And this is I think this is my summer project, which sounds like a lot of fun to everybody, I'm sure. But
for anyone listening, they're in education.
since we're on standards, I think that there's a format where you don't have to tell them what to work on. I'm just envisioning like a portfolio or a digital portfolio with the standards listed in child language, in a student's language, with a 1 through 4 scale, and say, hey, you guys, and just checking them off with them. We do an assessment, we do a formative or summative assessment, and we see where they're lacking, and when we make a note of it in their portfolio or whatever it is. I'm just spitballing here. I'm just thinking of
something that they can access online.
Or they're going to demonstrate their learning.
Yes.
When they've demonstrated.
Exactly.
Show me
so once they see you can do it, hey, we could check this off. And if I know where I'm at a point where, I've already taught that standard, and we're getting ready to move on, and you're still here at a 1 or a 2, your homework tonight is to take a look at one of your 1 or 2 rows where you're lacking.
Right.
And maybe just try it out math. These are all just things that I've thought about in my head. Like, how can I make it so they go home and they're driven? They have a tool. I know where I'm lacking. I know what to focus on. Not write your spelling words in alphabetical order or write each letter in a different color of the rainbow or something like that. Where it's purposeful.
Yeah.
Because I think because we could continue to talk, but it's
we could.
We're recording this on a Friday. You guys need to go home. But I will just end it with one short story: is learning homework does not necessarily equal learning.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that homework is a sacred cow. Homework is something that you just say. People have very firm beliefs. People who've been teaching 5 years, 12 years, 30 years. That's something that people have strong beliefs about. But I have talked with a parent this year who said my child came from another district. They had higher test scores, and they gave more homework. And the message behind the statement was they gave more homework.
Logic says that more homework.
They gave more homework, therefore they had higher test scores.
Mm-hmm.
And my question would be, did they have higher test scores? And once again, test scores are not the be-all, end-all. Did they have higher achievement? Was it because of the homework?
Or who was helping them?
Or despite the homework?
Right. That's true.
Because, because again, the research is not there. There's not research that supports it. And again, the purpose of this is not to, hey everyone, if you're listening here, throw out all your homework. Although there will be people who would support that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not where we are right now. We are just think about what you're doing, not just homework and everything in life. Why are we doing what we're doing? Because if we can't answer that question,
what's the point?
If we can't answer that question, we are not doing anybody any favors, and our students and our parents and everybody. Those are the kids and the people that we serve. So
yeah, and I know you want to wrap it up, but I got one more thing.
Go.
Sorry. I know that people listening to this are saying, you guys are doing them a disservice. There are people that are saying you're not teaching responsibility, but I just want to say responsibility doesn't have to equal misery. It does not have to. We do. My kids are so responsible to each other on a group project that we do, where I have them begging to do it because it's a project they're interested in, they're bought into it, and I literally give them a folder with every single student's work in it, and it comes back every single day without fail, and they're ready to share it the next day. It's about as responsible as you could get, because I don't have backup copies of the project we're doing. Sometimes I copy it just in case, but they are motivated. They're into it, and they're responsible, and they're not miserable. And you don't always have to have the two to teach it. And I struggle with that because I'm like, got to teach responsibility, got to teach it. But there are other ways. So I think I'm still finding that. That's still what I'm
embedded. It's embedded in what, it's almost like the poster behind me, the 6 pillars of character. Well, we have to teach character education. Do you stop, all right, math class is over, time to teach character?
Mm-hmm.
No. Mm-hmm. It's embedded in everything that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Same responsibility can be embedded in everything that you do. So it's Friday, guys.
All right.
You need to go home. So Kelly, thank you.
Yes,
Donnie,
thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And for anyone listening, hopefully you've gotten something out of this. Again, moral of this story is ask yourselves the question, why are we doing what we're doing? That's what we're asking. It's not an easy answer. It's a long, like you said, Kelly, it's 5 years. We've got many more. It is a process, but the people we serve are our students, and if we ask ourselves these questions, we will be doing them. But we'd be doing good by them. So, Kelly, Donnie, thank you so much. Everyone listening, thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe in iTunes or Google Play. And if you like what you hear, drop us a review or a comment. And until next week, have a good one.